Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
We're just not very good. I think big thing on playing on the Ravens defense is the organization, the fans, they've seen greatness. So being bad, being good, really, it's just not the standard. I think when you know, Ray Lewis and Ed and just the great defenses that have just come through here, that's really all they've seen is just great. And I feel like, you know, anything other than that is below the standard. So right now, I do know we got guys that want to compete, that want to get the job done. I feel like we are close, but we gotta just all come together. We gotta just finish those third downs. I feel like that was just the biggest key for tonight, and we just can't expect our offense. I know we got Lamar Jackson, but we just can't expect them to score 28 points every game. 30, like it's putting unfair expectations, I think, on the offense. So we got to do our part, and you know, we got to get some stops, get some turnovers, and I think that's the key. But I know we got a short week, so I think if there's a week we can turn things around, it could be this week against a really good team with KC.
Thank you to Morgan Adsit from Fox 45 for that particular video of Marlon Humphrey postgame last night after the Ravens, of course, lose to the Detroit Lions in pretty demoralizing fashion. You know, the crazy part is all the numbers we're seeing today about like how historic of a performance it was for the Lions. Like I've seen everybody's talking about NFL record 30 pressures, and they don't turn the ball over, and they did everything nearly perfect. And it was a one-score game, which is kind of wild and really a testament to the presence of Lamar Jackson, but that's it. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Thank you for joining us for Project Game Day late last night. It wasn't pleasant, but we do it after every game. Myself, Rita, KZ, Stetka, Griffin showed up eventually, and Tyus Bowser, former Ravens linebacker. If you didn't get to watch it, find it youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. We'll do it again this Sunday following Ravens Chiefs, and ooh, boy. But all season long, Project Game Day, PressBoxOnline.com/game day, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, 1-800-GAMBLER, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costas Inn, as well as Game Day Men's Health. I don't have a lot more to say, and we'll get the opinions of others that I didn't say on Game Day last night. I get that not all of you probably watched. Shame on you, and you have an extra hour now on before the show starts.
That was the real reason.
You could watch then
for the adjusted timing.
You got plenty of time. It was as bad as you think it was, and the only thing that I'll push back on Marlon about is I don't think the Ravens defense is close. I don't know in what world you could think that. I mean, I guess they did get off the field a couple times, 3 and out last night.
Yeah, it was like they get a stop, and then Derrick Henry was like, but
right,
maybe do it again.
But they're not making plays. Like one of the 3 and outs, they got the massive benefit of a bullshit call because the ball definitely was a lateral. It was not a backwards pass that put the Lions behind. They didn't do anything to get that stop. It was given to them. Like they didn't have a sack last night. In what world is the Ravens defense close? And I'm not trying to pile on Marlon because I get that he's just trying to say the right thing. It's very difficult after a game like that. He didn't play well. Nobody played well. What do you say? But that's the concern. The concern is there's nothing. Who played well? If we had to do, let's just say they had recovered an onside kick and they had gotten the 2-point conversion, they threw a Hail Mary and then won. Who the hell would you say played well defensively? How could we do pats on the ass for the defense? Who would you possibly say?
I want to say Kyle Hamilton probably didn't have he was the one guy that didn't have a missed tackle. You know?
I mean, I don't know, man. They had 20 missed tackles.
Yeah.
I feel it's really hard pressed for me to think Kyle Hamilton
can't think of any
wasn't
specific
on the
one because I can think about just about every single guy.
No,
having
you can't
a
think of
missed
20. Like I hear you.
I can think I can think of every single guy having a missed
There's
tackle.
no way you could have come up with 2 defensive players who played well last night. I mean, maybe Nate Wiggins because he broke up the one. That was the only.
They had one pass break.
Like one play that was made was Nate Wiggins, and to be fair, it was a great play. But it was the one.
Owe had that early, the big, he had a tackle in the backfield, tackle for a while.
Yeah, the one. That's what would have gotten. You would have put a Dafe Owe. There's no chance you would have put a Dafe Owe on your list. That wouldn't have happened. But that's the reality. Is I don't think the defense is close.
You put TJ Tampa for that tackle on
right, but that wasn't a defensive
and then they went 98
play.
yards down.
That was a special teams play, so it doesn't count.
Counts enough.
Like this is the reality. And yes, a lot of it has to do with Nnamdi Madubuike and Kyle Van Noy not playing last night, but not all of it, because as I pointed out, they were in the bottom third of the league in both pass rush win rate and run stop win rate going into the game when they had those players on the field for the first 2 weeks of the season. It's happening again. And part of the problem is the lack of true game-changing talent. And to be fair, as much as we were praising the defense and praising the roster before the season, we probably ignored that part of it too much. That there weren't wreckers defensively. And I was definitely too bullish about Mike Green. I will take that.
Well, everyone was. I mean, it was like everyone was getting drunk in
way,
training camp.
Way too bullish. And it wasn't about training camp or the preseason for me because Lord knows I was not watching. It was about what I thought of him in the draft and why I would have been okay if the Ravens had taken him in the first round from a football standpoint. And look, Mike Green might still have an outstanding rookie season, and he might prove to be the next great edge rusher in Ravens history, but the Ravens needed that quickly. They needed to add someone that could help in that department immediately this offseason. We can all say the right things. We can all say, hey, look, you got to give him time to develop, all of that. But we're solving which problem? The Ravens needed edge rush help immediately this offseason. They haven't gotten it. The defense is a massive problem. And we did last night on game day, we did our panic meter, and for the most part, the panic meters weren't too high. But I would tell you that's the one part. Like you said, specifically, what's your panic meter about the edge rush being what prevents the Ravens from winning a Super Bowl this year? I would tell you it's a 9. Like you do it the inside-out way. I've seen the future. The Ravens don't win the Super Bowl. Why? I would tell you edge rush. They don't have it. Not yet. Not until proven otherwise. And I am obviously still hopeful about Mike Green. And who knows, maybe Adisa Isaac comes back and can help out. And I do still think they'll be aggressive. I think they have no choice but to be aggressive. But that's not going to help them on Sunday in Kansas City when they're at risk of falling to 1-3. The edge rush to me isn't, hey, it's one game, or it's just because those guys aren't on the field. And part of that is because I don't know if Nnamdi Madubuike is going to be on the field. I'm that concerned. And I get it. Today is a great day. Our friend Don he's all over it because, every time the Ravens lose, I'm telling you, it's all John Harbaugh. God love you. If that's your opinion today, God bless you. That's not helping anything because the Ravens aren't firing John Harbaugh today. Someone has to coach the team. We actually have to have conversations that go deeper than just, I think this is John Harbaugh's fault. I do think that we have to talk about Zach Orr. And I'm not telling you today that I think the Ravens need to fire Zach Orr. It's that how has this now happened in back-to-back years that this team isn't ready to start the season defensively? How? Back-to-back seasons. We can talk about any of it. You want to talk about the preseason? I'm up for talking about the preseason. You want to talk about the coordinator? I'm up for talking about the coordinator. I can't figure out how in back-to-back seasons this defense has not been ready to start the year. Get the opinion of someone who I respect a great deal. You see him on CBS Sports. He was on after the game on CBS Sports HQ, and yet he's back up early today hanging out. Well, it's not early. It's after 11 o'clock. What am I doing? He's Emory Hunt. Let's get to him. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Emory, everything is falling apart here in Baltimore today. I apologize, but I appreciate you taking the time for us.
I appreciate you having me on the show.
Man, it ain't a great day. It is not a great day today. Emory, I'll give it to you. The defensive problems, personnel or scheme. What is going on with the Ravens that this is happening again this season the way that it happened at the beginning of the year last year?
I think it's more personnel, man. I mean, first, credit to John Jenkins for how he played last night. I thought he did an admirable job, but it wasn't enough considering the Detroit Lions had their way with their run game. And a lot of that is falling at the lines of the second level because you saw a lot of, bodies on backers. So backers wasn't beating the blocks of these guards or trying to beat them to the spots before they got to the second level. And he missed a lot of opportunities in space to make tackles and looked a little bit lost in coverage. A half step late, which in the NFL, a half step late in coverage is that results in the completion or conversion on third down or whatnot. So I felt like right down the battery was the issue, talking about interior defensive line and then linebackers.
Why aren't they generating more pressure? Like, why? I know last night they were bringing more from the secondary early on, and that was not helping. Like, they were just not getting home. And, I know it's in part the personnel and that they don't have Van Noy, they don't have Madubuike on the field, but it just feels like at some point there's got to be something else you can dial up to get some kind of pressure on Jared Goff, who I don't think had to wash his uniform last night.
Right, and when they were able to affect it, you saw how quickly the ball came out of his hands. And so, to me, when you look at, and this is the philosophical thing that I have, when you look at guys that are some of the top pass rushers, it's not really predicated on scheme or dialing up pressures. You got to have a certain want to get to the quarterback. Like Terrell Suggs wasn't someone that you designed scheme for. Terrell Suggs wanted to get to the quarterback. And I think Mike Green has that. That's what I loved about him as a draft prospect and all of those things. They just need more of those type guys that just have reckless abandon for pressuring the quarterback. And I do feel like when you do dial up pressure, we talked about it was funny. Me and Brian McFadden were watching the game in the green room, and it's when they called the corner blitz with Nate Wiggins, and it's like, did he really want to get to the quarterback? Or he blitzed to get blocked? Because if he's supposed to make a move on the running back. A running back's not supposed to block you. You got a full head of steam. And so it's about the attitude of a guy that wants to blitz, that's trying to affect something, that's trying to blow something up. And if you only have a few of those guys on defense in terms of the mentality when you're trying to get pressure or trying to blitz, then it's never going to work. And so that's why when you look at teams like Pittsburgh, it seems like they still have the same guys on the team from the Steelers of the late 90s, the early 2000s, because the mindset is still the same of how they attack an opposing offense. And Baltimore has that in spurts, but they got to get that consistently across their 11-man side of the ball.
Emory, without us knowing what the story is going to be for Nnamdi Madubuike, is there a chance that their hopes of actually competing for a Super Bowl might come down? I am with you. I still want to believe in Mike Green. I was very bullish about him as well. He has not made an impact as of yet. But I'm starting to wonder if this comes down to they're going to have to be desperate looking for this type of help up front at the deadline, because I just don't know if they have it, particularly if Madubuike isn't going to be back this season.
Well, to help out this defense until they figure it out, their offense has to pick it up. And, this is an issue that I have with Baltimore consistently. they have these moments of shrinking in big games because they press too much. And when you press too much, you overthink things. What was annoying me last night was Lamar Jackson not wanting to take off and run, or Lamar Jackson allowing himself to get running from behind to get sacked. This is not the Lamar Jackson we've seen before where he, concedes a sack or gets himself sacked. Also, with the running game, we don't see Derrick Henry fumble, and now we've seen him fumble in 3 straight games, albeit 2 were lost, but that's a sign of pressing. And even the offensive play calling, they were down to score, and they went in straight air raid mode, and we were watching the game like, yo, there's 6 minutes left in the game. Why are they going hurry up? Like, you can still run the ball. You're only down a touchdown. Like, why are you going to this hurry up offense and now you find yourself in 3rd and 10? And so that's a deeper issue that they got to dig down. And, that's a Jim Harbaugh thing. Like, why are we shrinking in these moments? Why am I, as a head coach, not having these guys ready to go, just opposed to the other side? Dan Campbell had his guys ready for every opportunity. They were actually calmer in these high leverage moments, like the 4th and 1 inside the red zone when they ran the option play, or the 4th and short to close out the game when they threw the ball down. They were
no doubt.
even calling a 67-yard field goal. Like, okay, if we miss it, cool, but I believe my guy can make this 67-yard field goal. And so that's the difference between the coaching staff and how it manifests itself out there on the field.
He is Emory Hunt, CBS Sports. He is with us here on GCR. Emory, you bring up Lamar Jackson, and it's difficult for me because, 30 pressures last night that the Lions got. So, I can understand his skittishness in the backfield last night. Like, it was relentless how they were getting after him. That said, I do agree with you. What was the line between he was skittish versus it was there? Because they were using the spy, but I think what you're saying is what I feel too, which is you're Lamar Jackson. Why are you worried about the spy? Just go spin that dude out of his shoes and get downfield. Right.
So what, they got a spy? You know what I'm saying? Like, the spy is not faster than you. That's the part that was blowing my mind. And that allowed Detroit to kind of make a couple of plays. So I feel like Lamar Jackson sometimes gets caught in this, he's too online at times where, he got to play from the pocket, or he got to make plays from the pocket. Like, bro, if the game calls for you to go rush for 205 yards, go and rush for 205 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know you are a great pocket passer. That's just a narrative that people that hate on you want to spin. So forget online, forget the narrative. Do what Jalen Hurts does. If today requires me to throw for 58 yards and tomorrow requires me to throw for 330, I'm going to do both, right? Because this is what's necessary to win this particular game. And I felt like there was a chance for Lamar to lead the team in rushing with 150 yards last night, but he chose to try to win from the pocket, and which is fine. But, bro, get out there and Barnes should not catch you, in any iteration of your career. So I think that's what was frustrating last night about the Ravens offense. I felt like the Lions did a great job and beat the Ravens, but the Ravens helped them out by also contributing to that loss as well.
I do still feel like, again, where I agree with you, I still feel like there were 30 pressures last night. And the funny thing is, as I was watching, it wasn't like I thought there was any one particular lineman that was it seemed like it was a little bit everybody that was the guilty party. It just, I don't know, it felt like they were overwhelmed from the jump. And also it didn't feel like anybody was picking up, and I don't know if that's part of them just missing Pat Ricard right now, but boy, there were very few times where it felt like they were reading what was coming at them.
That was the other part, too. No Ricard definitely changed the run game because there was no one to take away that extra defender. And I know they tried to use different ways to accomplish the same goal. Sometimes use tight end, sometimes you want to use influence. But with no Ricard, you lost that ability, and that manifested itself on that drive where they just bungled the entire, series from the 5-yard line, where they couldn't punch it in. That used to be easy money for, Baltimore with Ricard out there. So now you're seeing the importance of two guys, Madubuike on the defensive side and Pat Ricard on the offensive side, and that showed itself huge last night.
I'm going to go back just quickly to the defense, Emory. Are you confident that Zach Orr, I keep coming back to, this has now happened in back-to-back years. And a year ago, they brought in Dean Pease to try to help out with things, and they got things settled. Is it unfair for us to ask questions about Zach Orr as a defensive coordinator?
It's not unfair to ask questions, but it's also not. If you're going to ask questions about him, you got to ask questions about Harbaugh.
Yeah.
You know.
With the caveat being they're not going to fire the head coach until after the season's over because somebody's got to be the head coach, right? Like, you know.
Right, but also, and then you look at. I mean, we go back to, especially because who they're playing next. We go back 2 years to the AFC Championship game. I mean, you had the question. You know, the offensive coordinator, like, bro, like 6 run plays, like so it's, to me, it's all about why are your coaches, freezing in the moment, because it's always the same thing. So it's not one particular person. We've seen it from the OC in the ACC in the AFC Championship game. We've seen it from the head coach multiple times. We've seen it from the defensive coordinator early in seasons. So it's like, well, the common denominator is it's the same issue that has happened in these high leverage ball games.
Emory, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think it's that, unfortunately, from a practical standpoint, it's just like that conversation can't happen until later, right? Like, you're not going to fire a head coach until you're either completely out of it or the season's over. Not a John Harbaugh, right? Like, you're not going to do that. That's just not the way the league works. To me, I do think it's a real question of if the defense looks like this for another week or two, do you find yourself in a spot where you just have to make a change at coordinator because, you can't let this thing come unglued and seem like you're not doing it. So I agree with everything you're saying from a, hey, what's going on here standpoint. I just mean from a practical standpoint, it doesn't feel like you can practically change your head coach in this situation at this point.
So if you fire Zach Orr, does that change the fact that Madubuike not in the lineup?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt about it.
I don't think it's a Zach Orr issue. I really don't think. We know he can call defense. We saw it last year. Like, they had one of the top defenses in the NFL. So listen, it's week 3, and I know it's a bad loss in a primetime solo spot. Like, we'd probably have the same conversation if they were 2-1 and this was Morgan State they lost to. And be like, well, what's going on? Why can't they? They could beat the Lions, they could beat the Chiefs, but they can't beat, this school here. So I get that there's frustration, but it is week 3, and it's we talk about how early in the season maybe 1 and 2 are kind of an extension of the preseason. They'll figure this out because when you look at their defense as a whole, there's some elite level players on that defense. And we saw some positive things last night. I thought we saw TJ Tampa do a really good job when he was thrust into the lineup. We've seen certain elements of Baltimore being really good. And so in spots, hell, they had a huge lead against Buffalo. So the defense was playing really well. And so for me, it's about, okay, when will they figure this thing out? Obviously, they're banged up, but you could say that about any NFL team. I just don't think it's, it falls at the feet of one guy and saying this is the issue. It is not like we've never seen, like last year. If last year didn't happen and they were just terrible all throughout the last season, and they start this season how they started defensively, you could say, okay, well, maybe there's something there. But I just don't see nothing with Zach Orr to say this is a guy who should be,
he is Emory Hunt. You can check out footballgameplan.com. Emory, when we seeing you next on CBS?
What's the date? Oh, Tuesday. So Wednesday we have our show on Sportsline, and then you'll see me Thursday Night Football, and you'll also see me again this weekend, Saturday and Sunday and Monday in studio as well.
Excellent. And, of course, at FBallGamePlan on Twitter is how you follow him. Emory, always appreciate you, man. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
Absolutely. I always appreciate it. Thanks again.
Thanks, Emory. Emory Hunt with us here on GCR. Today's show also brought to you by the Maryland 5-Star, which returns in just a couple of weeks at Fair Hill in Cecil County, maryland5star.us in order to get your tickets. I hear everything that Emory is saying, And I'm not telling you today that I think the Ravens need to fire Zach Orr. I think that it's a situation to be monitored. What is it that Andrew Stecca was saying about Justin Tucker all last year? He's like on watch. I think that, and maybe I even was what started that term. I'm not sure. Like, it's on watch for me. I'm monitoring that because it might very well be that Emory's right. I think the confusion that we have is how much of what happened in the second half of last season was Zach Orr fixing things versus how much of it was the Ravens brought in some outside help, and it's weird how the defense seemed to get fixed when they brought in that outside help. And so I think that's what is leading us to ask these questions at this point. Is this Zachary Orr's fault? I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying that from a practical standpoint, if the defense performs poorly in another couple of games and they're sitting at like 2-3, they might find themselves in a spot where for a team that's Super Bowl quote or bust, and I know that John Harbaugh doesn't like that, but it feels like they need to be thinking kind of along those ways. There's almost not a choice but to say this isn't working. We have to do something different. Get Bo Smolka's thoughts about this. Of course, covers the Ravens for PressBox, PressBoxOnline.com. He was at the stadium last night. Bo Smolka, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right. What do we say about Zach Orr, and what do we say about a Ravens defense that we thought figured things out late last year and looked like one of the better defenses in the NFL, but is off to a start this season that is eerily reminiscent of the start they were off to last year?
Boy, it sure is eerily reminiscent. And what do we say about them is Marlon Humphrey might have said it best. They're just not good right now. And the question is, why aren't they good right now? And they are clearly not the defense that, myself included, we build them to be in July and August. And they've got a real reckoning to come to terms with here. They need to find out why they're not as good as they as they thought they would have been. Is it just the matter of not having a pass rush? Are the defensive backs not doing enough? Are they obviously not stopping the run? There's just a multitude of issues there. But they're just not as good as we thought they were. And can they be? Maybe. But they are not close to it right now.
They are not close to it right now. And that was the one part of what Marlon said last night that I pushed back on because, Bo, I don't know that there were even, like, positive things they did last night. Like, I guess the one Nate Wiggins pass breakup was good. That was a good, but like they did nothing defensively that suggests that they are anywhere close in my mind.
Oh, I agree with that. And, you know, Adafeowe had a nice hit for a loss on one of the first plays of the game, and then he was kind of non-existent after that. And, I mean, they didn't sack Jared Goff. It just seemed like obviously they could run whenever they wanted. And then it just seemed on third down, if they needed a third down conversion, he would just wait, have enough time, and find Laporta because he's going to get open sooner or later against this defense and against that pass rush, and Goff would have all the time he needed. The Lions were just a step ahead on both sides of the ball all night. They played with more physicality. They were more intense. It just looked like they wanted it much more. And, yeah, I'm sure the guys that were here 2 years ago were fired up about that and really wanted to show something after they got run out of the building 2 years ago. But, again, you said it. This is a Ravens team that has designs on being in the Super Bowl, and they can't get a stop. They can't tackle anyone, and they can't get a pass rush. And they accomplished some things offensively, but it's kind of a mess right now.
Bo, I know some of it, obviously, is no Nnamdi Madubuike, no Kyle Van Noy, right? Like, we acknowledge that, particularly against the run. I think the problem is, without there being any updates about Nnamdi Madubuike, and when we're talking about a neck injury, I'm not sure that you can assume that you're going to have Nnamdi Madubuike. I just don't know how you would, and that's the part of this that makes it really concerning is how does it get fixed without them?
That's a good question. And, you know, it was just alarming to me to see, and I know Madubuike wasn't there, and you know, he's either extremely valuable, or the other guys just didn't play that well. Because, I mean, you take him out of the middle of the defense, they shouldn't be gashing him for 225 yards. Now, I think Travis Jones was dealing with an injury on and off throughout that game. He came off the field slowly a couple times, and he was out there, but I don't think it was 100%. And because again, they couldn't stop anything. And it was, to me, striking how easily they ran between the tackles all night. How do they fix it if Madubuike isn't back? And John Harbaugh was asked about him after the game, and he had no update. I don't know, frankly. I mean, you need the guys that they have to be better. Because, you can go out and try to grab a guy off the street. You can pursue trade situations, or they traded for Roquan Smith midseason a couple of years ago. Eric DaCosta could look that route. But within the roster, they insist within the roster they have the players to do it. They didn't show it last night, and there were probably other reasons as well. But that was glaring. They downplayed the absence of the two of them, but clearly those were two guys they sorely missed.
Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer with us here on GCR. Bo, what did you see in terms of, obviously, the Lions, everybody's talking about this 30 pressures thing from last night. It also felt like some of it was on Lamar, and just whether it was skittishness or a lack of interest in taking off downfield at times. I don't think the offensive line played well. I think they were porous. But I also don't know what the line is between that and what the Ravens were not doing specifically when it comes to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were times excuse me. I think there were times he probably held the ball too long, and he probably could have done something with it other than take the sack. 7 of them he took, which tied for the most in his career. And you figure Lamar Jackson's not a guy, he's so elusive, he's not a guy you're going to get on the ground 7 times. It only happened once before, and it honestly is rarely that you get him more than 3 or 4 times. But and I asked Lamar Jackson after the game, how are they getting 7 sacks on you? And he said, look, they're stunts, they're schemes, and they played 3 safeties. He didn't want to throw up these hero ball passes and run into trouble that way. I thought there were a couple of times he probably could have taken off and run. He didn't want to. And there were definitely times it looked like he held the ball too long. They were trying to take away Zay Flowers, and that was what I would have tried to do too if I were them after watching the first 2 games. Andrews got open. Bateman was there sometimes to be had. But I agree that I just think at times he held the ball too long to take a sack, and at other times he opted against running. But they had a spy on him, so they were going to contain him that way as much as they could. And then they had 3 safeties a lot of the time that were taking away what he wanted to do. And as he said, he wasn't just going to throw the ball up there. So that was his explanation. But there were times I think that there was an option there that instead of taking a sack, because you take the sack and now suddenly the drive effectively stalls. And you're right, the offensive line did not play well. They didn't run block well. They didn't pass block well. But there were times they probably could have avoided getting themselves in 2nd and 19 or whatever.
No, and Bo, I think the other part of it is too is like even if Lamar Jackson's being spied, he's Lamar Jackson, right? Like what?
It was shocking to see him kind of under such duress and not able to do much about it.
Bo, it feels like right now there are some serious questions that are being asked about the psyche of this team, and this isn't a collapse the way that the Bills game was a collapse, but it's more a question, and we've kind of talked about it over the years, when they're bullies, when things go their way, when they get out in front, they're unbeatable. But when they get pushed, it just, there seems to continue to be a common theme that they don't handle adversity well. And I've wondered out loud if there becomes an amount of self-fulfilling prophecy in some of these circumstances. But, like, does it feel like there's a psyche problem that exists with this team?
I mean, it seems like I mean, frankly, they have to be tougher. They just have to be tougher. And that, that's got to be the message. It's got to be the message from coaches to players. It's got to be the message from players to players. Marlon Humphrey was basically saying that, they said, teams don't fear us. Teams don't fear us at all. And the Lions didn't fear them a bit last night. And yeah, they've got to, I think that's part of it. If they get pushed back, they've got to figure out a way to push back. They can talk a big game. Roquan Smith likes to talk a lot of, He comes up with some great quotes leading up to a game, but they're getting pushed around. They need to be tougher. And
them down for a week or anything along those lines. Like the solution is the problem, or the problem is the solution, however you want to say it. The only thing you can do is keep giving the ball to Derrick Henry and hoping that he doesn't fumble the ball.
Well, that's true, right? And we said before, if you are Bernard Pierce or Terrence West and you fumble three times, you're probably sitting for a while. That's not the case with Derrick Henry. And they're going to keep running him. And Derrick Henry was asked after the game, he says, I just got to be better. And someone said, well, how do you be better? How do you not fumble? Right. And he said, well, he's trying to work on ball security. You hold the ball tighter. He's looking around. He asked players after the game, was that ball loose? And Hutchinson made a great play to punch it out, had a good look at the ball. Physically, he could see it to punch it. But you're right. I mean, he just has to run and not fumble. And but that has to be in his head now. It has to be that he's fumbled 3 games in a row. And so, but he is not the guy they're going to sit down, as you said, for 2 weeks and put him in the doghouse because he fumbled. That's just not what they're going to do with him. So, but it is, again, that becomes a psyche thing. When he gets the ball now, it's got to be in his head a little bit. I got to hold on to this ball.
Well, other than all that, right? How was the play? Other than all of that, Bo, I don't know what else there is to say. As you point out, they got a huge game against Kansas City coming up on Sunday, and they're going to have to figure out what they can do in order to beat the Chiefs because they're in serious danger of falling to 1-3 on the season. Of course, we'll be checking you out all week. PressBoxOnline.com at B Smolka. Bo, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer, with us here on GCR. All right, we continue along here on a Tuesday edition of the program. We'll come back in. We will dish out some slaps to the helmet. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantafalo's family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner, same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1970. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
2025 Navy football single game tickets are on sale now. Don't miss the exciting home game schedule this year. The games feature exciting American Athletic Conference matchups, including the Commander-in-Chief rival Air Force on Saturday, October 4th. Don't miss all of the exciting action in historic Annapolis at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, and get your tickets today at NavySports.com. Go Navy! Beat Army!
Game day gets even better at Live Casino. Score a live jersey on September 6th and bucket hat on September 27th. Plus, catch our big plays, big pays hot seats on select game days. When the home team scores, the prize pool doubles. And we'll give away a $50 sports and social gift card with every touchdown. Take it to the end zone at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens running back Derrick Henry and how the football legend has proven to be a unicorn at the position with the success that he's found after the age of 30. Also inside, Brandon Schwartzberg looks at Kobe Mayo's push to find rhythm at the big league level. And we mark the start of the college football season by meeting players from all 4 FBS and FCS programs throughout the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. If you missed Stan the Fan Charles catching up with BJ Surhoff. He and Ross Grimsley and BJ Surhoff got together yesterday. You can find that show Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan shows are brought to you by the Costas Inn and the all-new Costas Inn, now open in Timonium. It is normally something we do on Mondays, but, the game was on Monday night, so we do it on a Tuesday. Let's dish. I don't know if we'll do 5 plays. The problem, I was thinking about 5 plays. There are 500 plays. Like, everybody, we're all going to obsess over the Derrick Henry fumble, and I get it, but, like, I don't even know that's...
because you could pick 8 plays from that 20-play drive.
Or
where they could have
all
gotten
3
one
of the
stop.
fourth downs that the Lions got and the 1 fourth down. This is the crazy part about how much of an ass-kicking we think last night's game was. That, in a way, it also all comes down to 4th down. The Ravens go for it on 4th and goal. They don't get it. The Lions go for it 3 times on 4th down and get all 3, and they all lead to points. There's the game. And I get it. Like, it's too simplistic because we all watch, we all have eyes, and we saw the Ravens sort of getting tossed around, and we saw that they were dominated up front and the whole thing. In the end, those 4 plays... So, I don't know. Maybe we'll do 5 plays. I guess we're supposed to do it.
I'll let Drew know so he can have his ready.
No. That's the problem. It might be web only this week. Might be a web only 5 plays like we do with 3 up, 3 down after baseball season starts. All right. Slaps to the helmet. Pick 5 Ravens. 2 must be offensive players. 2 must be defensive players. The 5th can be another offensive player, another defensive player, a special teams player, or a coach. Rank them 5-1 with number 1, your anti-man of the match. That's the way we do it. We'll put them up on the board, and I'll begin with my number 5. The problem is I know he didn't have a good game. I also know that it wasn't really like the story of the game, but Marlon Humphrey has to be on the list because not just the 4th down thing, but obviously the touchdown earlier. It just wasn't a good night for Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey is my number 5.
Marlon will be 1 slot higher on my list.
Just putting names at the top so people know whose list is whose. What happened to that?
I guess we could do that. Yeah. My number 5 is Roger Rosengarten, and I just saw another stat that maybe I should have him a slot higher. You know what? Is it too late for me to switch? Maybe I will do Marlon. Can I do Marlon 5? And
all right, if you want, I guess.
Marlon will be my number 5. To your point, it's not all on him, but he and Amon-Ra St. Brown is really good, but he was caught one-on-one with Amon-Ra a couple times, and it looked like he was allergic to him. He was nowhere near Amon-Ra St. Brown. So Marlon Humphrey comes in as my number 5 for my second.
You're going Rosengarten 4?
Correct, yes. Rosengarten will be the offensive line had allowed 7 sacks. Maybe some of those were on Lamar. Maybe Lamar should have been able to get out of some of those, but they still, again, the 30 pressures and 6, apparently, according to per PFF, 6 charged to Roger Rosengarten. Aiden Hutchinson hadn't looked like he had fully healed. It looked like he fully healed by last night, and I think he was picking on Roger Rosengarten on that, at least picking on that right side of the line, particularly.
The weird part for me is that I didn't know. The problem is I didn't want to make it Rosengarten because the one Derrick Henry touchdown run happened because of Roger Rosengarten. So I didn't want to make it Rosengarten, but obviously somebody from the offensive line had to be on the list because of what happened. So I'm just going to have Andrew Voorhees speak for the group. I didn't think he had.
I didn't think he looked good either.
I didn't think he had a good night. There was one play where he just seemed like he had, and I wish I could remember what play it was. Like he was just standing there, blocking no one, and it I don't know. It stood out to me. without being able to fine-tooth comb it
yeah.
the same way. That one was the reason why, like I said, I got to put an offensive lineman on the list. I'm going with Voorhees because I just remembered that play to me.
6 pressure per PFF, 6 pressures allowed by Rosengarten, 2 each by Linderbaum, Falele, Voorhees, and then 1 by Ronnie Stanley. So those are how pressures were dished out per Pro Football Focus.
My number 3 is Travis Jones. Look, as Bo pointed out, I think everybody's assuming that Travis Jones isn't fully healthy, but on top of that, he just got his ass eaten by Penei Sewell all night. Like, Penei Sewell wore him down. He took on a ton of double teams.
Yeah.
I understand that.
That's what made it tough for me for a second, I guess. But, I mean,
he just got his butt. He was flattened in the middle of the field. I mean, just got his ass kicked.
He was double teamed literally. It felt like literally all night. So maybe that's why I was coming close to saying maybe should it have been Tavius Robinson? Should this be Mike Green? Because whether Travis Jones was maybe not 100%, but they still had to double team him, and nobody else was able to take advantage. There were so many one-on-ones on the defensive line that they were.
Well, you've got Travis Jones here.
I know,
so.
yeah, well, he's my number 3.
Okay.
By default. I mean, he looked bad. He was not good. But nobody was good. Is my point. Nobody was good as my point. But Marlon and Travis Jones stood out the most. So those are my that's my 5 and 3 defensively.
Again, I'm not really sure if this is the right spot for him. I think part of the reason why it's easier for me to come down on Derrick Henry for this fumble. Unlike the conversation we had in week 1, is he just didn't really do that much last night outside of the touchdown run. Like, the touchdown run was spectacular and made you think, okay, the Ravens are going to be able to do this. And then he just was kind of a non-factor the rest of the night.
Like on that goal line stand, they gave it to him twice back to back, and it just seemed like. It didn't seem like it was Derrick Henry running the ball. It felt like he was just hitting the line of scrimmage, and then like any other running back,
And look, part of that is, again, I don't think that
I don't think
there were holes. I don't think that was there. You also add in the decision that he made to throw the ball that should have been intercepted. And I get it. It's a weird thing.
I almost don't even put that on him.
It's weird.
Why did we call that play?
Correct. There's a lot of that, but it still happened. It still should have been picked, and that can't happen. So. All of it is enough, the conspiracy, and so Derrick Henry's.
Yeah, and that fumble lost me my fantasy matchup. So I might actually switch him to number 1 now that I think about it for that reason in particular. I mean, you can't the fumbles. I don't know what to say about Derrick Henry. I don't know what to say about him. He's very much going to be the reason that this team makes it however far they make it. But for him to.
Yeah, this is
be a big reason they lost 2 of their first 3 games. It's weird.
This is what I brought up with Bo. The problem is that you want to talk about the Derrick Henry thing, but there's not much to talk about here. There's no next week Justice Hill is the featured back. That's not the answer. The answer to Derrick Henry's fumbling problem is Derrick Henry. And it's a boring answer, but that's the answer. All you can do is just keep giving the ball to Derrick Henry and assume that he's going to be Derrick Henry again. And I think it was pointed out there was once before in his career a stretch where he had fumbles in 3 straight games when he was with the Titans, and it was late in a season. And then he went right back to not fumbling the ball anymore. So, that's all you can do is just hope that it changes.
Ran for 200 yards.
He's the best player on the field, other than Ed Oliver.
Hasn't touched the field since.
It's true. And yet they've been just fine.
Yeah,
just fine.
Well, they get to play the AFC East.
I hear you. Zach Orr is going to take the number 1 spot for me this week, and I appreciate what Emory Hunt said earlier, and it's not nothing to me. I do think that, part of the problem, he brings up that you're sending Nate Wiggins on a press. Does it even look like Nate Wiggins has any interest in getting the quarterback? Or, that part, it's all fair. But I can't escape this is exactly what it was a year ago part of this. And I just can't get over it. I really can't. I can't get over how bad it was. I really was genuinely worried about the impact of Van Noy. Go back and listen to the show that I did on WBAL on Sunday. Like, genuinely concerned. Now, again, I still defaulted to, but hey, it's Lamar Jackson against the NFC. Maybe that aura. I mean, I get it. He's still 24-3, but that's back-to-back losses at home against NFC teams, and that aura might be gone. Even if the record is still overwhelming, the aura part of it just might be over. I still defaulted to I thought the Ravens were going to win, but genuinely concerned about the combination of Van Noy and Madubuike being out. Still, it can't be this. This is... It just makes me wonder if you're capable of functional defense. There isn't one good thing I can say about the defense last night. There's not one area of the field where I thought they performed even at a mid-level. I don't think any area of the defense was deserving of a C- last night. All of it was dreadful, and lost. It was just unfathomable how bad it was. And I'll listen to a personnel issue. I'll listen to, again, perhaps we overvalued certain things, Mike Green coming into the season. Like, I'll listen to all of that. But it's 2 straight years that this is how the season has begun. And while you can't take away what happened in the second half of last year, we can ask, what was the line between that being Zach Orr and that being the arrival of Dean Pease? Like, we can ask that question. We can acknowledge there were specific personnel moves that were made, particularly at the safety position, that helped to change that. I don't know what the personnel moves are that you can make. I don't think there's anybody... Like, is the answer again? Do you think Adisa Isaac is solving the edge rush? Zach Orr is going to be number 1, and if it continues, I don't dislike Zach Orr in any way. I really love the story. I think it's awesome that he's the guy, but this can't happen. It cannot be that for 2 straight years you begin the season. It's wildly unacceptable. I don't know that anybody was great last night, but the defense was, it was unfathomable how bad it was. Zach Orr's number 1.
John Harbaugh is my number 1 because he got just coached into a circle by Dan Campbell. Some of the play calling in the red zone, which maybe I should be leaning on Todd Monken here, but it all falls to John Harbaugh here, and the decisions
I don't understand when you say that why you think that's true.
What?
When you say like some of the play calling on the red zone, it all falls on John Harbaugh. How does that fall on John Harbaugh? And I'm not trying to give John Harbaugh a pass because I think John Harbaugh's.
They needed to go for it on 4th down when it was 4th and 9 in the 4th quarter. I'll pull it up, but I gotta find it. They needed to go for it on 4th down when they were trailing. When they were trailing, they punted it back, and it ended up being Stout's worst punt of the night.
Well, yeah. I think Jordan Stout, who otherwise had maybe I know it's a low bar. He might have had his best game as a punter up until that point. The eternal answer being, you don't get this, you're going to lose, is a conversation that we've had for a long time. But it's still pretending like 4th and 9.
John Harbaugh stands out because of how well Dan Campbell coached on the other side.
But Dan Campbell wasn't going for it on 4th and 9. Juxtaposing those two things, Dan Campbell went for it on 4th and short in 3 spots where it made complete sense, where there was almost no question from anyone. What did what did Ben Baldwin say the number was?
Said, so if they had gotten it, their win percentage goes
So
to
it was a
26.
3% change in win percentage.
They had very little chance. I mean, there was 4 minutes left in the game, and you're giving the ball back when your defense.
I understand the.
You're giving the ball back for them to win, to run the clock out, which they had done
but
the
again,
entire game.
You also had the opportunity to get off the field, right? Like you did.
Yeah.
You gave up a 4th down. I'm not. This isn't. I think in.
But we knew the defense. We knew going in the defense was going to be awful. We knew it was going to be
which is why Zach Orr's number 1 on the list.
Right. We knew that going in, though. We knew that Nami Matabike and Kyle Van Noy were
in general.
Very important.
What you're saying is you don't get 4th and 9, you're going to lose. I'm telling you right then. I don't think you're getting 4th and 9 because you were getting your ass kicked up front too.
All right, so they lost. So they were going to lose. So there was no possible way for them to win
and
the
that's
game.
sort of what it says. It says there's a difference in a 10% and a 13%. So this is my problem with obsessing.
The Bills had a
over
1% chance to win the game 2 weeks ago.
I understand that, but we're not trying to suggest that any one play was the difference here. There's plenty of things to get on John Harbaugh about. Thinking that the reason why they lost the game has anything to do with the fact that he didn't go for it on 4th and 9 is kind of batshit insane. Like. You want to say, hey, this is just the NFL now. You always have to go for it. That's the way that it works. You just have to assume your defense sucks. We can have that conversation. But what did it have to do with them losing the game last night?
Is there and then mishandling? Just Dan Campbell doing everything right is.
But that has nothing to do with John Harbaugh.
Yes, it does because he was the other head coach in the game.
That doesn't. Dan Campbell's not playing chess with John Harbaugh the way we want to envision it when we do these poetic things. Dan Campbell made the right decisions for his team in the right spots.
Harbaugh was going for it on 4th downs. I mean, like what? That's the thing that.
Do you
that's
think he
the thing I
shouldn't
don't
have gone for it on 4th and goal?
I'm glad. I mean, they had to go for it on 4th and goal,
and they didn't get it.
Right.
But like what? This is the problem with always defaulting to John Harbaugh, who again I'm not giving a pass to. Like John Harbaugh has a bigger picture problem that isn't unique to last night's game. That there's an issue that the Ravens are dealing with. This is a macro-micro thing. In the macro, they have a major problem, a psyche problem, a whatever you want to call it. In the micro, I have no idea what the complaint would possibly be about John Harbaugh specifically from last night, which doesn't mean there isn't a John Harbaugh problem. There's a John Harbaugh problem. He has to own that this stuff happens to his team. But grading him for last night, the best presentation of evidence is there would have been a 3% change if maybe you would have gone for this? Come on, man. Like, that's not a John Harbaugh issue. There were lots of issues.
They had three. I had problems with the way the offense operated. I had problems with the way the defense operated. So when I couldn't pick one. And
I think it was pretty easy to pick one.
I mean, but we knew the defense was going to give up 38 points.
We didn't
we
know
knew.
that
Yes,
the defense,
we did.
No,
we knew
the defense
when you.
Points.
I know you
true.
don't do score predictions, but if you had made a score prediction, what were you going to say the final score?
It was going to be in the 30s for sure.
It was going to be 36-35, 38-37, something. We knew they were going to have to score 40 points to win this game.
I don't think I knew they were going to have to score 40 points to win the game. I don't know that I agree with that, but I get it.
Kind of all did.
If you want to say you don't think 30 was enough, fine, we'll have that conversation. Still, one thing is unacceptable. It's one thing if like the defense was.
I don't think I don't think he coached the game thinking. He coached the game thinking the defense could get stops and
what did
giving
he do
the ball
that made him? What, again, I'm really interested.
I mean, I think they.
What did they do?
They weren't sticking with the run as much.
You want to have a conversation about the whether or not on the drive before the fumble they should have run the ball more when they only gave Derrick Henry the ball one time on that drive. We can have that conversation. But I keep coming back to why is this a John Harbaugh thing?
Because they lost the game.
This is the problem that I have. It's
why.
just the uber simplistic thing that we do anytime the Ravens lose. It's always the easiest thing is coach quarterback. Like that's what we do. And we know the quarterback didn't play poorly enough last night, although ironically I do still think that he would be, if we kept this going, he might be 6th on my list because of the sacks that I don't think he needed to take. I probably would have put another offensive lineman on there before him, so maybe
he is 6.
And there's too many defensive players.
Isn't he?
But I just the John Harbaugh part of it to me is the macro. The macro is just they have a John Harbaugh issue that they'll have to deal with. The micro of every game that they lose always being about John Harbaugh.
I'm not saying he should be fired. I mean, I don't think anyone needs to be fired. It's week 3.
Somebody's going to be fired if this goes sideways. Like,
Well,
let me
it's
make
week
this abundantly
3.
clear. If the Ravens don't fix this, John Harbaugh's going to be fired or needs to be fired.
I mean, in 16 weeks,
You
yeah.
can say that,
Like,
but that's the way it works. Or if it comes apart at the seams and
sure, I mean, yeah, but
and they wanted to get
the
ahead
only way
of
that's
it.
happening is, I mean, if they end up having 25 guys on IR right now.
Yeah, or the defense continues to just be abhorrent.
Yeah, John Harbaugh's. I mean, Dan Campbell did everything right.
This is the problem. What Dan
And
Campbell
they
did
got
has
outcoached.
nothing to do with what John
They
Harbaugh
got
did.
outcoached.
Yeah, you're obsessed with Dan Campbell. And I thought Dan Campbell was masterful last night. I agree with that. I think Dan Campbell was incredible. But Dan Campbell wasn't fighting John Harbaugh. There wasn't a boxing match.
There was a clear
between
discrepancy between one head coach and the other last night, and that's why John Harbaugh's my number one.
But there's nothing that backs that up.
Yeah, did you
What
watch
you're-
the game?
No.
Watch the game
all
again.
that backs that
Like,
up is that you think Dan Campbell was great.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah, he
You're
was.
not presenting the other
What did John
side of
Harbaugh
it.
do that was good?
He went for it on 4th down when he should have
Once.
gone for it on 4th down. Yes. Like, what is it? You're not presenting any argument about John Harbaugh.
Because, I mean,
You're just presenting Dan Campbell was awesome. And I agree. Dan
Oh
Campbell
my
was
gosh.
awesome.
He was. They lost the freaking game, and they continue to
This
lose
is the
games
thing.
in just unfathomable ways. Like that. Like
Well, I don't think it was unfathomable last night. We know what happened. The defense got their asses kicked.
And we knew the defense was going to suck. They coached the game thinking they could win by scoring 30
Tell me how
points.
they didn't coach the game that way.
They coached the game thinking they could win
Tell
by
me
scoring
what
30
they
points.
did. Tell me specifically what they didn't do coaching-wise to win the game. Tell me.
Leave the offense on the field as long as you possibly can.
So never
don't have Derrick Henry.
Wait,
throw
no.
the football
I
when you're in the
want.
red zone.
You're saying that the only way to judge John Harbaugh is if he ever doesn't go for it on 4th down, he's failed. That right now they should
exactly
just
what I'm saying.
assume. No, I'm asking, Griffin. You need to answer the question. What is it? What aren't they doing?
I want them to
from-
win football games.
I agree.
And they didn't try to do it last night. It
No,
didn't
they
feel like
absolutely
were.
tried to do it. You're just saying bullshit now. They, of course, tried to win the football game last night. What didn't John Harbaugh do? The best argument you presented was
Tell
a
Lamar to run the football
3%
more.
change. By my God, if you want to make Lamar Jackson the guy, I'm all for that.
You'd still be screaming. I can't pick a number one. That's
No,
the thing.
it's this. This is just kind of brainless.
Oh, my God.
It's what we do.
Okay.
When the Ravens lose, it's just John Harbaugh. And sometimes, I agree, what happened in Buffalo, he owns. That was obvious. You needed to go for it on 4th down. This is not obvious last
You
night.
knew you had a bad offensive line, and you trot this team out there the whole time. I mean, like, this
What
is
is
like
that? What do you mean? You're telling me that they need to run Derrick Henry more, but then you're saying, but you also know you have a bad offensive line.
Maybe the team sucks. Then
That might be the problem.
So the head coach, that's my number one.
That's
then.
just
that's
you're just
the team's bad.
defaulting. You're just defaulting. There's no actual thought behind it. And again, there is a macro John Harbaugh problem that I'm not arguing with. I'm over it. They're either going to get this thing fixed or John Harbaugh has to go.
I mean, maybe
period.
Namdi Madubuike should have been my number one. Like, that's like not having him on the field was
saying
to me that was.
I do
one
think
of
it was
the
as big
biggest
a
story. I
storyline.
think that was the biggest story. Namdi Madubuike.
I don't know that it was the biggest story.
They went for every time they ran between the
I
tackles,
understand.
They went for 10
I understand.
or 70.
But that's not the only football player that exists. And the guys that are out there.
This is the first game he's missed.
I understand
since-
that,
I think
but-
he missed a game. What, for COVID? Like,
But there's no reason
Like,
why they should have been
Namdi
this piss
Madubuike
poor. There's
is-
no reason why they should have been this piss poor. Like, this isn't we knew they were going to give up 30 points. They gave up 38 points, and it's a miracle it was only 38. It was, again, only 38 because the Lions took so much time to do it. The story was they got their asses handed to them defensively. The Lions decided to have a Navy football, a service academy drive. Otherwise, they would have given up 50-some points last night. The defense was the story. Now, some of you might say, well, John Harbaugh's got to take it upon himself to fix the defense. I mean, technically, he does come from a defensive background. We always talk about how he comes from a special teams background, but he did come from a defensive background, playing in the secondary. Like, do you want to say he's going to have to say, this is it, I'm taking it upon myself? He has sat in defensive meetings. Like, he has been involved. You want to say that, like, he's going to have to take ownership of it because that's how you're going to judge him at the end of the year? Fine. I mean, I say whatever we want to say. other than trying to pretend like the decision that the game came down to a 4th and 9 punt. Like, we're just saying things.
Well, because they still had a chance to win the game there. Like, as soon as you
based
give the
on
ball back
everything
to the
else
lines,
you said, they don't. Because you said the offensive line sucks, so let's just pretend they get it on
so they
4th
still
and down.
that was their last chance to win the game, and they decided, let's give it back to the lines.
Right, because they were going to get it on 4th and 9 based on everything that was happening.
I mean, you're not going to get it if you punt. You're not going to win if you punt.
It was a definite percentage of likelihood. The trade-off, the math shows, is next to nothing. There's next to no change there in the likelihood of that getting.
And once you're getting down to less than 10% to win the game, I mean, then everything does seem, everything is valuable at that point. Like,
and so again, the difference is you had a minute chance and a minuter chance, and so that's the story of the game. The story of the game is that.
I mean, I think they probably lost the game after they gave up a 12-minute, 11-minute,
Well, the wild part is they had a 21-14 lead in the second half after that.
I know, which is
that's the wild
I still don't
part.
know how. I just don't know if I believe that happened.
The wild part is, because I think most of us would agree that the story of the game was that drive. That drive defined the game. And yet, they had a 21-14 lead after that. So it is difficult to juxtapose those two things. Now, you want to say maybe the David Montgomery 72-yard run? Like, if we really do 5 plays, that might end up being the one that, like, you seem to have corrected things and got the game back on your serve only for that to happen, and that, like, that was the gut punch you never recovered from?
If I made Derrick Henry number 1, would that have been allowed?
It would have been better than just defaulting to John Harbaugh for the sake of defaulting to John Harbaugh. I wish you had an actual. If you could present a real
Dave
argument.
Campbell's my reason.
Like, that's not a reason.
That is a reason.
It's not.
That is a reason.
It's not.
That is a reason.
That's nonsense. You just think the other guy had a great night. It's like saying, well, if Jared Goff was brilliant, then Lamar Jackson's got to be number 1 because he wasn't as good as Jared Goff. Well, I don't even know that that's the case, but like we don't just say things. I just wish you had a good argument for it. That's it.
I guess I do too. I mean, apparently I don't.
Like, it just comes off like when they lose, it's just the head coach's fault. That's just the way that it goes.
Yeah, but
again,
I don't do that, and that's that. Like, I think it like
well, I think
that's
sometimes
why
it is.
I have
like,
to be on.
Sometimes what happened in Buffalo
because it's
is
also on Todd Monken, it's also on Zach Orr, and it's also on every other position coach, and the O line and the D line. It's on everyone. So I couldn't pick just one guy, and it's a game they should have won.
I don't think it was a game they should have won. I disagree with that part.
Well, going at 8 o'clock last night, I felt it was a game they should have won.
But as the game played out, there's nothing about that last night that makes it seem like that was a game they should have won. Again, we can have those conversations. The Buffalo thing, 100%. Game they should have won, no doubt. Last night, they just got their ass kicked, period. All right, we'll take a small break from talking about the Ravens because we're going to have to keep doing it all week long. That's just the way it's going to go until there is some other evidence. But on Tuesdays, we try to get you ready for Waiver-Wire Wednesday. Joining us now, he is our PressBox fantasy football analyst. He's Joe Serpico, and he's with us on GCR. Joe, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Not to rub any salt in the wounds here because I just heard you guys going off there, but I was in a league where David Montgomery's last-minute touchdown there was the deciding factor in a game. So I feel bad for anybody that was in that situation.
We'll talk to you. We will talk to you next Tuesday. Thank you very much, Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst. Joe, let me start. I guess, as always, we'll go over some of the injury stuff. Is it just the Trey Benson show in Arizona now? Is it worth grabbing DeMercado? What do we make out of that?
Well, we saw last year that DeMercado was a little bit of a factor, but so far this year, he's basically been a non-factor. So it looks like that Benson's going to be they'll probably mix in DeMercado and probably in like passing downs. But I think Benson is the guy to own. I think he is, of all the people in waivers this week, the guy to pick up. Again, we talked about it last week. I was surprised to see that this guy is another one that's available in 50% of leagues. If he's out there, you blow the fab on him. I'm just not understanding how these guys are available in so many leagues.
This is the problem. While I love you and I know you're doing your job, I am convinced that we are just overvaluing like the number of leagues that exist for the sake of somebody like signing up, and there's like 4 teams in the league. I don't know any actual league where Trey Benson is available, which is part of the problem for like somebody who is a James Conner owner that wasn't a Trey Benson owner and now has to turn to Kareem Hunt as a starting running back this week because I have no other options whatsoever. I guess with that in mind, that's a league where clearly I can just let James Conner go because he's not coming back this year. Is there an argument, like if you were to pick up one of these two guys, would you pick up DeMercado or would you pick up like Woody Marks again?
I probably would pick up Woody Marks because I think he has better opportunities to potentially take over as the guy for the Texans as opposed to DeMercado. We kind of know is going to be the backup for Benson. Like I said, he'll probably still get some numbers in passing downs, and that might be something to take some work away from Benson. But at the same time, I think Benson's going to be the guy at the goal line. We've already saw I don't want to say we're doing 1A, 1B, but Benson was already getting an uptick in carries this year, and they kind of talked about it even earlier on how they were going to go that way too. So now with Conner out, I think it's all Benson as the guy you want to own for that reason, and then DeMercado. Again, I'm probably waiting out another week or so to see what happens with that, if I'm even making that move.
Do we buy into Trey Tucker?
Yeah, he was hard for me to put on here just because, it was hard to ignore. You scored 3 touchdowns. You got to put him out there. But you had the 9 targets this week. He had 8 last week. It looks like maybe he is the guy there. I don't know. Surprisingly to me, the Raiders are actually a pretty competent offense, at least passing-wise. Anybody who owns Ashton Genty is probably upset with how that's going so far. But Geno Smith looks to be, airing it out a little bit. So there is some hope in the Raiders offense. And then maybe Tucker is the number 2 to Jacoby Myers there. But then let's face it, the number 1 in the end is still Brock Bowers. So you're still counting on basically the 3rd guy in the pecking order to be your guy. So like I said in the article this week, he's somebody I am probably adding to my roster. See how this week plays out too, but I'm not ready to start him just yet. We'll see how things go in the next couple of weeks when buys start to come into factor.
Obviously, Omari and Hampton is not available in any of your fantasy leagues. Is there anyone else in Los Angeles that's worth picking up?
The first name that comes to mind is Kamani Vidal, but we also fell into that hype last year too, and then it never became a thing. So he just never got playing time last year. So he maybe becomes an uptick because he becomes a handcuff now to Hampton, but at the same time, he's not a guy that I'm going out of my way to spend fab on. If you have Hampton and you want to add him as like your last piece to the bench there, you could do that, but I'm not spending any fab on him.
What do you do with the Washington backfield if outside of Bill, everyone else is available? Is there any reason to go after Chris Rodriguez? Is Jeremy McNichols just had the one long run, or do you think he could actually be something?
Yeah, this one's a bummer because I was not just me, but I think most of the fantasy community was kind of big on Bill being a thing this year, but it just hasn't kind of played out that way. It looks like what they're going to do is just go with this, at least for the time being. It's going to be a 3-headed committee. So I'm not necessarily dropping Bill yet. I might wait another week to see how that kind of plays out. In regards to if I'm picking up any of the other guys, that's tough too. It's like, you're kind of picking your poison there with any of those 3 guys. We saw it this past week. I think all 3 scored a touchdown. So it's just one of those things where you just got to be like, do you really want to bank on basically a guy getting into the end zone and that's being your only opportunity? I would much rather count on some guys that are playing a little bit more prominent roles. Like I would much rather have a Bashal Tootin over any of those 3 guys right now, even though he's I don't want to say he's a backup or kind of another situation. We're seeing kind of how it plays out. But even, let's say, like a Blake Corum, I could see reason for you to want to play him over anybody in Washington just because, he's getting at least 10 to 15 touches. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case for any of these guys.
What about the New York situation? I know part of the problem is it's New York, but then secondarily, is it just Cam Scatterbo moving forward until Tyrone Tracy's back? Or, is there an argument for picking up Devin Singletary?
I don't think there's an argument for Singletary. Even after Tracy got hurt, it was basically
Hey, Joe, we're having some phone issues with you right now, buddy. Let's see if we can't get that squared away. Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst, is with us on GCR. As always, Joe is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, the best place to watch all of the big games and every big fight night is Inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel. Make a weekend out of it. Enjoy your Saturday night. Make a nice trip down to Live Casino and Hotel. And again, just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Great food, 100-foot media wall inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. You want to grab a break and see if we can't get it figured out during break, and we'll come back and we'll finish up with Joe Serpico? Let's do that. We'll grab a break, and then we'll talk to Joe Serpico a little bit more on the other side. It's GCR. Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantafalo's family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner, same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1975. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Game day gets even better at Live Casino. Score a live jersey on September 6th and bucket hat on September 27th. Plus, catch our big plays, big pays hot seats on select game days. When the home team scores, the prize pool doubles. And we'll give away a $50 Sports and Social gift card with every touchdown. Take it to the end zone at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Hey, back in here on GCR, and don't forget, Navy football single-game tickets are on sale now. Don't miss the exciting home game matchups. The schedule includes AAC, huge games, and the Commander-in-Chief Trophy rival Air Force on Saturday, October 4th. Don't miss all of the exciting action in historic Annapolis at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. Get your tickets today, NavySports.com. We're in the middle of previewing Waiver-Wire Wednesday with Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst. Joe, we were talking about the situation with the Giants. Is it just the Cam Scadaboo show, or is there any value in picking up Devin Singletary?
No, I believe it's going to be the Scadaboo show the rest of the way. That's kind of how it looked the other night once Tyrone Tracy got banged up. We hardly saw Devin Singletary the rest of the way. So, again, if you're in a situation – actually, no, I wouldn't even do that because they did announce today that Tyrone Tracy is probably going to be out only for 2 to 4 weeks, so it doesn't look like it's something long-term. So I don't see any true value into having Devin Singletary unless, let's say, something were to happen to Scadaboo this week. But, no, I'm not going after Singletary. We've kind of seen what he is, and there's a reason why they've moved on from him.
Another wide receiver injury in Tampa. This time it's Mike Evans. Is there value to anyone besides Emeka Egbuka?
Not really. Just because we just don't know. Godwin could come back this week, but I'm going to assume that he's one of those guys that's mostly been taken up or snatched on IR or something like that. But those are the two guys that I'm going to most likely count on. I mean, if you're truly, truly desperate, we've talked about how horrible tight end is this year. Maybe you take a flyer on Cade Otton this week, but I think if you're playing anybody on the wide receivers for the Bucs this week, it's Ibuka and nobody else.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. Is Mark Andrews fixed now? Are we right back to starting him moving forward?
No. I know it was nice to see the 2 touchdowns last night, but we kind of see all this, a little bit last year too. He's very touchdown dependent. Last year he would not have finished as high as he was as a fantasy tight end if he didn't have the double-digit touchdowns. So we kind of saw in the first 2 weeks, the targets just weren't there. This week, maybe there was an uptick in targets and he got into the end zone, but I'm just still not ready to rely on him. And then let's face it, we know that Likely's probably coming back, hopefully this week, if not the following week, and he's going to eat into his stuff. So, yeah, if we have him for this week, I'm probably giving him one more shot. But after that, if it's another dud, I won't say that I'm moving on just because of how bad tight end is, but I'm definitely looking for other options.
I'm going to go back to starting him over Harold Fannin. I am going to do that.
I don't fault you for. Yeah. Fannon's a hard guy to figure out just because he is the number 2. We're about to see the same situation in Baltimore. People are going to go run to the waiver wire to pick up Likely as soon as he's healthy, and I'm going to be one of those guys that sit from afar not wanting to do that because I'm not trying to have – it's one thing to have 2 wide receivers or 2 running backs. It's a whole other beast to have 2 tight ends. I'm not interested in trying to have the second tight end on anybody's team. Fannin was a little bit unique because he was kind of playing a fullback role too, and he was getting a lot of looks, but it's just tight end as a whole. It's just such a crapshoot. It's literally, if you don't have the top 3 guys, you're just playing matchups every week.
That's probably fairly accurate. All right, anything else waiver wire wise this week?
2 notes. The first being that bye weeks come into a factor already next week. So if you're somebody, and the teams that are on a bye are the Falcons, Bears, Packers, Steelers. So let's say you have Tucker Kraft on your team. Most likely probably the only tight end on your team too. I always suggest to everybody, you want to pick up whoever you plan to play for in his spot this week. You don't want to get into a bidding war with the other people that are going to be in that situation next week. And the other thing being, this is the first week where we have the international games. So if you have anybody that's a Viking or a Steeler, you will have to make sure that they're in your lineup probably either the night before or get up early and make sure you can, check your lineups with that. Both teams are relatively healthy, but at the same time, you just never know what happens, especially when they go fly overseas like that. It was a couple of years ago. I can't remember who it was. Somebody did not play once they arrived in London, and it kind of screwed everything up for them. So that's one of those things where make sure you're awake at 8:30 in the morning to check your lineup for that.
I mean, if you are awake at that time, it is nice to have football. I will give them that much, but it is annoying. It is no doubt about that. All right, PressBoxOnline.com is, of course, where you see his stuff. At Joe Serp on Twitter is how you follow him. Joe Serpico. Appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this morning, and we will talk to you again next Tuesday.
Absolutely, guys. Good luck this week.
It's Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst. Here you go. This is from Craig. Craig says, appreciate you and Griffin showing your fire this morning because that's where we all are today. Everybody's just pissed off. While I'm probably on Griffin's side in general, you're right that the best argument that he made wasn't until the end when he finally said it's just a reflection of I don't think any level of the team played well. You're probably right that there's nothing that John Harbaugh did last night that is particularly problematic. It's just how do we say that the whole team didn't play well? But part of the problem is I actually don't agree with that. And I'm not.
I mean, Lamar Jackson never doesn't play well.
That's the thing, right? Like, it wasn't that the whole team didn't play well. It's not actually true. Again, we can point out things. Did the offensive line play particularly well? I don't think so, right? But, I don't think when we say this is a 3 phases loss, it's something that we say sometimes. Well, this is on everybody. Well, yeah, it's kind of on everybody.
My brother did put Tyler Loop on his slaps list.
Because the kickoffs?
He couldn't execute the onside kick. No, he couldn't execute the onside kick. And that's what it came down to. He's right. He's right.
Is your brother trying to make your list look better? Is that what that is? He's trying to get me to send my fire somewhere else?
There's nothing wrong with my list.
I don't think it was a three-phase loss. I think that's what we're saying is we've decided we're now grading on a curve. This wasn't a three-phase loss. The defense was abhorrent. And we're hiding behind, but that's what we should expect. There's no world where you expect that you're going to give up a 12-minute drive in the NFL. That's not an expectation. That's little league stuff. It was abhorrent. Even if who's the guy that our expectations were low, but holy F, like that, this is that. Your expectations can be low, but not that. That is unacceptable. And again, clearly when we talked to Emory Hunt earlier, he doesn't think it's Zach Orr. He disagrees with me. He thinks it's on the personnel. If he was making this list, he'd probably put a third player on the list because of it. And so we can have that conversation. But this is the both sidesing like that we do in politics, right? It's both sides. This to me was not a both sides issue. I get it. You can say, hey, you'd still like a little bit more from the offense. Fine, we could have that conversation. But one side of the ball was abhorrent. Was F minus. They didn't get a 50% last night.
And the other side of the ball still gave up 7 sacks.
I hear you. Some of which I think is on the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't put the quarterback on the list because he was the reason why they could have won. So what am I left with?
I don't know.
Then what do I have? If I say, hey, if I thought all 7 sacks were on the offensive line, then maybe, I guess.
Do 5 linemen?
Maybe, I don't know. I put a third offensive player on the list. But some of that's on Lamar, and Lamar can't make the list. So it's where we are. Again, if the argument is just think that all 3 phases of the team were bad, then I could listen to that, and that falls on John Harbaugh. But I don't think that was the case last night. I think one phase was slightly less than what I needed them to be, and one phase was incompetent. Man, you don't like saying those words because those are real words and they have real meaning. If I really graded on a scale of if this was a test and your teacher was giving you somewhere between a 0 and 100, what would the defense get? Because a 59 is a failing grade.
It looked like they weren't ready for them to go for it on 4th down.
It looked like they weren't ready for anything at any point. Again, we think they made maybe 2 actual plays all night. My God. Hell, even the 1 3rd down that they got was there was running room there for Jared Goff. He could have picked it up. And he had an open receiver. He just threw the ball into the ground because he was in a goofy way trying to throw the ball as he was running, which was...
He was trying to be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean...
Didn't work out.
Bro, you're Jared Goff. Let's settle down now. You played really well, but, come on, man. Let's settle down. I don't know who you think you are. And they got a 3rd down stop because of that. But that wasn't anything they did. The score last night for the defense to me would be a 25%. I mean, it's such an abominable.
They held them to 38 points. So.
I keep saying that because the Lions took a quarter's worth of time off the clock. That's actually unreal that they got to 38 points despite the fact that they stopped scoring points for 10 minutes. Unfathomable. Awful. Purely awful. 3 more days.
I want to keep yelling. My voice hurts, though. I was yelling at the game last night, too. And then I had to yell at you. And so.
You had to yell at me. 3 more days of this. And then, who knows? It could be another week.
Well, they're going to win on Sunday.
I hope. God, I hope. Today's show also brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. You got a tour of Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills yesterday. It has changed my life. And not in that, I'm not trying to oversell it or suggest to you that I'm 24 years old again or that I could go run a super marathon or a 4-minute mile or anything along those lines. It's just that it's made me feel better. It's really helped me in that way. And I'm taking peptide proteins, and it's been a godsend. 443-264-4454 for Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills. 443-266-3505 in Columbia. 240-931-3717 in Frederick. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Sign up for your complimentary testosterone test right now. If you're low T, they've got treatment options for you. If you're not low T, you might just be like me. You just need those peptide proteins. If you've got stubborn belly fat that just won't come off, if you're dealing with performance issues in the bedroom, they've got you covered. Game Day Men's Health. Trevor Rogers was named Orioles MVP today. There was no debate. It's not. It is weird that they do this.
Sure.
No, there was no debate.
Who'd you vote for?
I didn't. I do not have an Orioles because I don't go to the games. In fact, I had a Ravens for some reason. I still had a Ravens MVP vote until like 4 years ago.
They made a mistake, and then they were like, "Wait a minute."
Well, I was still at least going out sometimes, right? Like, and so they kept me on the list. And I also, maybe I actually find out that I actually still do have a Ravens MVP vote. Actually, I think I did find that out, that I still do have a Ravens MVP vote because I'm a PFWA member, but I just don't choose to use it anymore because I don't really cover the team like day to day. So I stopped voting. Anyway, I don't have an Orioles MVP vote. Apparently, you had to put 3 guys on your ballot, and that's the goofy part because there's an obvious number 1, there's an obvious number 2, and there is no number 3.
Dylan Beavers, Rhino Hearn, maybe?
Yeah, that's the funny part. Like, if you really put a gun to my head, and first of all, why? What are we doing? Like, my God.
Who was the best Oriole?
the third best.
The third best Oriole.
Because the first best would be easy. I'd be like, okay, you can put that gun down. It's Trevor Rogers. No problem. And there's no debate between he and Gunnar Henderson. Trevor Rogers was the best Oriole. Gunnar Henderson was the second best Oriole this season. The third one, you want to say it?
Samuel Basayo for just signing a piece of paper.
You want to say it was still Ryan O'Hearn just because nobody was good enough? Fine. I think Andy Koska said he put Dean Kramer third. Okay.
I mean, he went 7 innings. What, like?
Yeah, I mean,
3 or 4 times?
just because he pitched. Like, if that's the argument, is like
Brandon Young had that one night.
Right, there was that one night in Houston. We'll always have that. So fine. I mean, like, if that's like a protest vote, that you have to have a third vote, so I'll vote Dean Kramer. There is no Dietrich Enns could be the third guy on the list for all I know. Like, who in the F is third on? Why not? Keegan Aiken.
He wasn't here. He wasn't here.
Then make it Keegan Aiken, right?
No, not Keegan Aiken.
Again, we're gonna keep doing this. Jeremiah Jackson.
I can listen to Jimmy Jackson.
Somebody could say Jackson Howard again just because he played. Just because he played all season long. There was no third option on the list.
He stayed healthy. You were healthy.
Right. Andy Koska, I think, actually put the list together of who everyone was that got a third place vote.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually quite humorous reading across it. Hang on. I think it was a follow-up to... yes, here we go. Andy Koska. The list of individuals who also receive votes are as follows. Tony Mansolino. He's not an Oriole.
He's an interim Oriole.
Dylan Beavers. Dylan Carlson. Colton Cowser. What? Gunnar Henderson, obviously. Jackson Holiday, Dean Kramer.
Why did Dylan Carlson get
Tomo? Why did Colton
Why
Cowser
did Stan
get
vote
a
for Dylan Carlson?
Yeah, right. Tomo Sagano and Jordan Westberg were the others that got votes because you have to have a 3-person ballot for Orioles MVP in a year. There were only 2 nominees, and there was an obvious number 1. But yes, Trevor Rogers, Orioles MVP, as you would imagine. It is weird that they're doing this. There's still a week left in the season. There's still 6 games to be played.
What if Trevor Rogers gives up 83 runs in his final?
I'm not too worried about that. I get it. Like, this year, there's no reason why they shouldn't. I also know that they try to do this at home, so they have a nice pregame recognition of whoever the player is, but it's still a little weird. Griffin wants me to tell you that Malik Washington was named the Big Ten Oh, was it? All right, well, then we can get to that, I guess.
No, I didn't really.
Oh, okay.
I just when you were going to throw out the tidbit, I was going to touch all the things I wanted to talk about.
All right, well, it's up here.
Hey, this was pleasant.
And then who was named Defensive Player? That was Daniel Wingate was named Defensive Player of the Week, right? I believe, in the Big Ten. Malik Washington, Freshman of the Week. Daniel Wingate, Defensive Player of the Week in the Big Ten. So congratulations to them after Maryland improved to 4-0 on the season. And, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the case. So, with that in mind, Yeah, there it is. Daniel Wingate, who's been great. He's been phenomenal. I mean, he really has been incredible all season long. So congratulations, both of them. Now, with that in mind, Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of PressBox. There's a Ravens player on the cover, and great college football stuff inside. I don't think I need to talk about anything else. Great story from Bo Smolka. There really is an argument. We don't want to talk about. We don't want to do this with Towson because they lost.
I do. I'm put them on blast. Figure it out.
Okay.
No reason you should lose that game.
That part. Now, again, you're right about that.
We're doing 5 slaps for the Towson.
This is not. This is not like last night's game. There is no reason why Towson should have blown a big lead against Youngstown State. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the print issue of PressBox. Go get it today. Read it all. PressBoxOnline.com.
Bryce LaFollette had they ran 2 fake. They executed 2 fake punts.
They did. One was a run. One was a pass.
And they converted both, and had an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. I don't know with 6 minutes left. And
Jackson Dart is going to be the quarterback for the Giants.
Good. Congratulations. Good news for the Giants.
Yeah.
So congrats to Bryce LaFollette. Not congrats to the Tigers. I wish that wouldn't have happened. Okay, the one stat I'll do, David Montgomery joins pretty exclusive company he becomes the 5th player since 1970 to rush for 150 yards and have I probably should
legitimately might have
then go back to 2002.
Sean Alexander.
Not a running back.
Michael Vick.
In 2002. Had the David Montgomery game from last night. And then the first player, or at least since 1970, to do this was in 1989. He was a running back.
Walter Payton.
Not Walter Payton.
Barry Sanders. Emmett Smith.
I feel like you're right around it, maybe.
Thurman Thomas.
Not Thurman Thomas. His first name started with B.
First name started with a B. Bo Jackson.
All right. Bo Jackson, Michael Vick, MJD, J.K. Dobbins, and David Montgomery.
That is quite a group of people. I don't know what else to say about it.
150 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Thanks for the reminder, Griffin. Appreciate that.
I mean, you forgot already?
Yeah. Thanks for the reminder.
Pretty fresh in everyone's mind.
All right, let's get Tubular. Tubular is brought to you by County Sports.
Only team in the Super Bowl era to have a game with 7 sacks, 4 rushing touchdowns, no turnovers, and no sacks allowed. The Detroit Lions.
And that's, again, the thing that I talked about at the beginning of the show. They played a perfect game, and yet they still only won by 1 score, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Like, really is kind of wild. And goes back to that's how good Lamar Jackson is part of the conversation. All right. Tubular is brought to you by County Sports Zone, countysports.zone, probably sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Everything you need to know about high school sports in the state of Maryland, like this week's big Ravens Rise game of the week between Kent Island and J.M. Bennett. Really glad that I agreed to do the game before finding out that I had to drive across the bridge.
Oh.
Really glad that I was like, yeah, man, I got you. And then he's like, okay, cool. It's at Kent Island. I'm like,
I'll just make a beach weekend out of it.
Right. Maybe go to Ocean's Calling while I'm there. I had about 100 people ask me if I'm going to Ocean's Calling this weekend. I'd love to, but not an option for your boy, unfortunately. I don't know who's playing at noon on Friday. Maybe I just bag the show. Let Stan do the show on Friday, and I can go to day 1 for a little bit and then go to the I don't know what time they start the music on Friday. All right. Anyway, here's what's coming up totally tubular. Orioles do open their final home series of the season. They take on the Rays. Dean Kramer gets the start against Ryan Pepio. First pitch, 6:35 on Masson.
Green Day, maybe? Lenny Kravitz?
But have they put out the times? Because I would love to see Green Day and Lenny Kravitz, but I'm going to guess they're playing later. I'm going to guess they're
maybe
playing.
Izzy Escobar?
No, I don't know who Izzy Escobar
Ballyhoo? With an exclamation point?
Ballyhoo is local. I've seen Ballyhoo a million times. They're great, actually.
Okay, so you've seen them, so you're out.
Yeah. If there was something really cool, like if they had like some random throwback.
Yeah. Fountains of Wayne?
I don't.
Letters of Cleo? Bell or B-E-L? I think it's Bell.
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably not make it. Probably.
This is good.
Probably not going to make it.
Overall, it's a good train.
Yeah. The lineup is tremendous. Train doesn't do anything for me.
I forgot about train.
The Spin Doctors play at